After watching this video, you would know how much I spent for this movie, how far I've traveled and what technology I've watched it in. Also about my expectations for the movie because of the director's previous works, about the post-credit scenes, about the latest villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, about what movies it will remind you of, about the actors, about the VFX, about the story, direction and screenplay. In short, everything interesting about Fantastic Four and whether you should skip or watch it. Welcome to my technically deep review. I spent almost 450 rupees to travel to a theater called Prasad's, which was an IMAX and the largest IMAX in the world back in 2003. Sad that Hyderabad doesn't have any IMAXs now, while it had one of the first IMAXs in the country. It is still the third largest screen in the country. It is 5 times larger than a normal PVR screen. Watching movies in this huge theater is the best way to watch. Now you know why I traveled so far. July 2025 has been a special month for movie fans because of two reboots, Superman and the Fantastic Four. I remember loving the first Fantastic film as a child with Jessica Alba and the others. By the way, Jessica Alba looks the same as she did 20 years ago. Wonder what her secret is. My first introduction to Captain America was from that film. Watching the graphics, Silver Surfer blew my mind as a kid. They tried to make a reboot 10 years back and it failed. So naturally, they tried to reboot it again with a new cast and crew. But this time, the stakes are high. If you remember, the last few Marvel movies didn't impress us as much. Marvel is kind of having a slump after the grand Avengers Endgame and the Spider-Man. They are desperately trying to have a hit and probably they've succeeded to a level in this. Fantastic Four is nothing fancy, but it gets all the basics right. The actors have done a pretty decent job with their acting. They never let us down. Vanessa Kirby acts as Miss Invisible. The last time I saw her was in Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning and she was a Russian fighter in that. I thought she was okay, but in Fantastic Four, she steals the show. The entire story revolves around her and her baby. She balances between being a superhero, being a wife to a genius scientist, which comes with its own set of problems, and being a mother. Honestly, I thought it was too much to expect from her, and stepping into Jessica Alba's shoes is no small deal, but I must say I was impressed. I think she was best of the four. Even though I was a little disappointed with her in the climax, I would still give her 4 stars. She does. The reason I was disappointed with her acting in the end is because during the climax, she fights a villain like Galactus, but doesn't raise the stakes with her acting. Probably a director's decision, but her acting fell flat in the end. Next, there is Mr. Fantastic, also known as Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal. Reed Richards' character in MCU is always being of a great scientist who's busy in inventing something. The characterization in this movie is no different. He seems to be calculative, meticulous, and emotionless even when it comes to the life of his child. The actor carries it very well, but that is a drawback too, because as a character who is not very expressive, he cannot show many emotions. That limited the range of acting Pedro Pascal can do. But this is also true for scientist characters like Oppenheimer, where they have shined, but this is not the case here. He did a decent job. No complaints, 3 stars. I was excited for the character Human Torch and the Thing because it was played by the Captain America in the past. Even in the old movies, I was excited to watch a human burning and fighting the aliens. Throughout the comics and the movies, this character has been a hothead and a comic relief. The banter between him and the Thing has produced some great laughs in the movie. Both characters do not emotionally connect with the audience and they do not try to. They're just there for the fun and I'm cool with that. 3 stars for both of them. Now comes my favorite character in the film, or should I call him a computer-generated villain, but nevertheless an important character in this film, Galactus. I guess Marvel fans have been waiting for a while for his arrival because the whole theater went nuts when he came. I was thoroughly thrilled with his appearance. Just the sheer size and scale of this character in a huge screen was amazing to watch. It was something out of the world. Even Thanos would look like a small kid in front of Galactus. The graphics were impressive too. The fight scenes between Galactus and the Fantastic Four in the climax was pure fun. I talk about the VFX department a little later, but Galactus gets my appreciation. 4 stars. My expectations for the film were very low. I guess that the audience would call the film slow and boring. Why you ask? Because the director has only directed TV series until now. Looking at his filmography, you would see that he's a TV series director. A good one, but still a TV series director. Screenplay for movies and series are very different, if not worlds apart. When you get a series director to direct a movie, you would get a slow, episodic, and a movie filled with dialogues, because that's how series are. Fantastic Four also feels a little bit episodic, not slow, thanks to its short runtime. The director did a pretty good job in introducing the characters to audience old and new. He beautifully ties the story, the screenplay, the characters, the action episodes and the graphics. There was never a dull moment in the movie, nor an irrelevant scene. He made the movie crisp and to the point. Director Mark Shackman must be commended for bringing a little glory back to the Marvel universe. 4 stars. Another superhero of this film is the VFX department. Because the movie happens in an alternate universe with retro style, I think most of the movie is shot in blue screen. I personally thoroughly enjoyed the VFX scenes. The space scenes, the spaceship scenes, the wormholes, the action episodes, the Galactus. Compared to Superman, the world looked a lot bigger, a lot richer, and with a lot of depth just because of the VFX. The graphics in this movie will remind you of Interstellar, Avengers Endgame. That is how good they are. Just like Superman had a CG dog, Fantastic Four has a robot butler, which is totally computer generated. It was fun to look at, fun to hear. It's gibberish, and the way it helps Fantastic Four in their missions, it will remind you of stars from Interstellar, 4 stars for the VFX department. Next comes the story and screenplay. There are multiple screenwriters and story writers for this movie. They have put together a small, cute film that checks all the boxes for a good movie. The runtime is kept under 2 hours so that the film does not have to deal with fillers, unnecessary action episodes, or unnecessary emotional drama. That's a good choice. Premise is quickly established. 20 minutes into the film, you get the first conflict and the race takes. The heroes lose a battle and survive. How they defeat Galactus and together save the world is the rest of the movie. There are some really clever moments in the movie. The climax, the wormhole episodes satisfy a thrust for thrilling moments. The choice of retro style in an advanced society is a great choice. It brings a sense of freshness throughout the movie. It feels like you are really in an alternate universe where things have their own style and rhythm. You quickly get immersed into it because of how well the world has been built. It doesn't mean the emotion has taken a back seat. Defeating the evil together as a family has worked out. It doesn't feel repetitive or forced. It feels just the right amount. Although there are a few scenes where the screenwriters haven't put enough time in convincing the audience, like the teleportation, the public backlash, but they seem minor in the grand scheme of things. 4 stars for such a collective effort. Here comes another underlying theme that runs throughout the movie, the fun. For a lot of episodes, I was on the edge of my seat and thanking the movie gods that I was in for such a nice ride. Here are the lists that I had fun watching in the movie. Powers of the Fantastic Four were fun by virtue. Ways the Silver Surfer overpowered the Fantastic Four. Galactus Planet, the Galactus himself, space travel episodes, the banter between the Human Torch and the Thing, the way Galactus walks through New York, post-credit scene where yes, there is a post-credit scene and you should not miss it for the world. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but like Marvel did it in the beginning, there are some important characters introduced at the end of the movie. In conclusion, I would be generous and rate this movie a 7.8 on 10, and it's a must watch in the best theater possible. See you at the next good movie.